Hey, welcome to Pour Over Marketing. I am Rob Southgate, and I'm looking a little scruffy today. Uh, that's all right. It's morning. It's coffee time. It's what it is, right? So, welcome back. It's another Pour Over Marketing. Today's a doubleheader. Uh, I'll talk about this a couple of times during the show because I'd love for people to join me. But when this show is done, we'll be done at a couple minutes before 9. Then I switch over and I am on the Capes and Lunatics network with my show that I do on their network called The Third Best Southgate. And that is geekier, nerdier. Uh, I don't know if I've ever talked about what that concept is. Hey, good morning, Chelsea. So happy you're here. Uh, I don't know if I've talked about what the concept is on that other show. But, when what had happened originally was I was watching they used to be part of our network, okay, Capes and Lunatics, and when we made everybody free agents, off they went and created their own network, which is awesome, and they do a ton of shows, and they do all sorts of, superhero-y based content, and the one morning I'm sitting here, without this show, feeling the need to talk, right? Feeling the need to jump in. And they were talking about a Batman thing, and I just started writing on good morning, Chinto. Good to see you, or virtually. I started writing to them during their live show, and then they were like, "Do you want to come on?" Because they were all excited. They hadn't talked to me in a while, and their audience knows me. I was the producer, and then I was on occasionally. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll jump on." Well, I ended up hijacking their show because I was probably full of coffee, and once I get that fuel in me, not just coffee, but of getting people laughing and having fun. It's like a freight train, right? So I just kept going and I'm having fun with them and everything. And Phil says to me at one point, Phil and Lilith, it's their network. Phil says, I really wish you'd do a show on our network. And Lilith goes, oh my God, that would be crazy. And I went, why wouldn't I? They go, well, you have your own network. I said, what does that matter? So hence was born the third best Southgate. And the first episode we did, they were big fans of a show that we used to have called This Week in Geek, where we would talk about nerdy stuff. And most of the show ended up being about us making fun of each other uh, and nerdy stuff. And, whatever the nerd news was of the week and big movies coming out and all that kind of stuff. And we just kind of talked about it and laughed about it and stuff. And they loved it. So the first episode I did a third best. That's really what they wanted. They had missed This Week in Geek, and they thought, "Oh, wow, this is our chance to do a This Week in Geek." So we did the episode, and I came up with a logo for it, did the whole thing, uh, and I didn't like it. It felt like just rehashing the same old thing. And if there's anything that you guys know about me and marketing, this is all marketing, right? Podcasting, doing all that. It is all at its root a marketing thing. And I was like, you know what? I feel this is boring. It's the same thing I've seen a million times. It's why I like this show because I feel like what we're creating here is different. Yeah, anybody could sit on a mic and talk about marketing, but we're actually talking about some other things. It gets personal. There's a lot of encouragement, and I don't know. It's just different. It's a different show. I have another marketing show that this is like birthed out of New Media Lab, which I have always said I don't like this show. There's something wrong with it. Part of me loves the show, and another part of me does not. And this is actually what I didn't know, but what I was looking for with that show. So, Third Best Southgate, I said, you know, there's something wrong. This isn't what I want it to be. And then I came up with a concept. And I said, instead of me coming on, having it because they were all excited. They wanted me to have guests on and they wanted me to talk nerdy stuff. And I was like, instead of that format, which everybody has, how about if you guys ask me questions? So I'm like a perpetual guest on my own show. Uh, it works. And I've had guests on, and I just tell them, okay, cool. I mean, I might talk to you and ask you some questions, like a conversation, but you're coming on to ask me questions. And it's great because between Lilith and Phil, they like to do it without the guest because Lilith always asks me all this marketing stuff. She's a marketing nerd, right? Phil wants to talk about superhero stuff. He's a geeky, nerdy fanboy. And it's really fun because, I could talk about anything and I love this stuff. So that's what the show is. But today I'm going to do something different and they don't know it. And they're not watching right now because I know it's Chelsea, Jean Doe, and probably my mom watching without the sound on. Uh, by the way, big shout out to my mom and dad. They had their 59th anniversary on Thursday. 59 years. Then I started doing the math. Let's see. I'm 59 and a half. So they were, no, I'm kidding. I'm 56. And then Maeve and I had our anniversary yesterday, our 32nd anniversary. Yeah, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. We went out for dinner and got stuffed with fajitas, which, come on, what an anniversary, right? Okay, so anyway, I'm going to change the format. I'm going to do something different. I am going to turn the tables on them because Phil and Lilith are on every show with me. I'm going to turn the tables and I'm going to ask them questions. And here's the craziest part about this, and they don't know this. Yes, Chelsea. Yes, this deserves a shout out. Fajitas. We did chicken fajitas. I usually am like a steak, or I do a combo of steak and chicken. Dare I get shrimp on there sometime? But we haven't had fajitas in so long. We got some straight up chicken fajitas, and damn, they were good. Damn, they were good. Oh, and I got to talk about my coffee today too. So much food talk today. Uh, so what we're doing, and they don't know this, is I'm going to ask them questions. I have 3 questions. So maybe a month or 2 months ago, time slips by me. We're on the show. I'm on the show. I'm doing third best. And I don't know how they started talking about me and my history of podcasting or whatever, but they got on that. We don't usually talk about that. And I think it was Lilith said, uh, you should do we should do a documentary on the history of Southgate Media Group because this right now, we're right in the middle of our 11-year anniversary. This is when all the craziness was happening. In fact, right now is when it was just beginning. Because we thought we were going to have only a couple of shows. And from this moment, right now, middle of August, till the end of the year, we picked up 35 shows. We thought it was going to be 3 in 5 years. So craziness, right? Uh, so she goes, there's so many great stories and so much cool stuff has happened, and we should do a documentary. And then I was talking about it with Maeve, and we realized we should. We should do something. Not that the fans care. I don't know how many fans would actually be like, oh, yeah. Oh, it's the history of. No. So then what we did was I took this idea and I ran with it. I kept thinking about it. And what I came up with was I want to try an experiment before I dive into it. And I came up with 3 questions that I'm going to ask. And I'm only asking a handful of the podcasters because we've got well over 100. I'm just going to ask them the question and let them talk. And it's just pretty basic stuff about them and podcasting. There is a question about them in the network, but it's just this. And I want to see what we get. And then if I can edit it together, stitch it together, and find a creative way to make it work, we can build a documentary. And what it'll probably end up being is a documentary series on audio, and then maybe a clip down version with the video that we put out as like a 2-hour video presentation, our own little movie of it. They don't know this is going to happen though, because I'm going to do it live. I'm going to make them do it live, which is very much how I operate. And I did interview one podcaster already, and I was almost in tears. I could not believe what I got back, and it was basic. And I'm like, ooh, I didn't even get into the questions that make people cry. This is going to be awesome. So if you want to join me, it'll be on the Capes and Lunatics Facebook page immediately following. I'm going to try to share it. It's always a balancing act, because I get on and then I'm like, hold on, we can't start, because they make it live, and then I start sharing it to my Facebook, to the Southgate Media Group Facebook. I'm going to share it in a few different places real quickly. So you should be able to go to my Facebook page, or to Southgate Media Group, or to Capes and Lunatics, either Capes and Lunatics or Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. It will be streaming live, and you can ask questions and you can interact, and I encourage it. And then also for my peeps, Chelsea, that are going to Writers Row, I just put an invite on our Discord. Anyone that wants to jump on, Phil would send me a code. I'll put it in there. You just jump on and we'll talk about you a little bit. We'll talk about the upcoming event. You can ask me questions. The tables are turned. So I'm going to turn it on them, but you can also turn it back on me. So you are certainly welcome to do that. And we'll put you on live, that split screen thing, you know. Speaking of split screens, before we get started on what I want to talk about today, I want to open it up. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything? I know I've given you homework in the past and said, hey, let's talk about this next week. Is there anything you guys have been working on? Are there any ideas? I know last week we talked about you're doing some type of promotion, some type of event, and thinking outside of the box, doing things like guesting on newsletters or starting your own just interview thing. Is there anything you have tried this week or thought of this week that you'd like to share? Chelsea, I was hoping you could do it. You're such a good guest. Oh, by the way, Chelsea, the schedule for our panels at PopCon Louisville, I finally got that together. It's on their website. Pour Over Marketing. Listen to this. Our live one is not going to be Saturday morning. We're going to do one at, I believe, 3 p.m. on Friday. So you are welcome to join me there. And then Saturday morning, I am planning to sit in a coffee shop or someplace and do this at its regular time. So it won't be, it might even be in the panel room, an empty panel room. I don't know yet. So we can talk on Friday about that. But if you want to join me on Friday, you are certainly welcome to join me for a live version of Pour Over Marketing. Okay. So you guys have questions? Anything? Anything? Did I tell you that I turned down the executive producer at the radio station offer? That happened. I don't know if that happened this week or not. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have this live on their station. It wasn't a bad breakup. Let's see what this says. I'm really excited to try and do some videos and with other authors of PopCon. Figured it would be some good crossover. I'm down to be part of all Pour Over. I know that. And you know what, Chelsea, I love that you want to do some video stuff there. That is something we are sorely missing, that we're desperate for. Do it on your stuff. If you want to capture anything that we can put on Writers Row, we have Instagram for Writers Row, just Writers Row. We also have Writers Row at cons, which is where I'm putting pictures, behind the scenes pictures and everything, way more than just promotion for us being there. And then we have the website and the Facebook page. I would love to throw some reels and some stuff. So if you capture anything that we can use, hand it over. Or if you have any specific ideas, like we talked about last week, Maybe go around and just ask each author, who's your favorite author? Get them to talk for 30 seconds, send it over to me. We'll make a reel out of it. Okay. And Chelsea's already responded. I'm happy to share everything so you can use the footage. Thank you, Chelsea. Okay, Chinto, you just wrote. Not this week, but I joined Cartoonist Collaboration and have been way more active and saw myself get 20 plus followers on Instagram. That's a win. Going to start my conventions next week and working on a print whose sales will be donated to Doctors Without Borders. That is awesome. That is awesome. That actually brings up a good one, too. When you're thinking about ways to promote and all that, maybe be selfless. If you can't donate the proceeds, maybe you can do something to promote. So we're actually doing this at Writers Row because we all know how important it is that people vote in this election, right? Not going to get political here, but we all know how important it is. So there is a group called Nerds Vote, where all it is it's a site. It's not an Elon Musk thing where they're going to trap you and blah, 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 right? You go to Nerds Vote. Number one, it's got a link where you can check, am I registered? Is everything fine with my voter registration? It's a regular site. You can also register to vote right there. And it doesn't capture all your information. It doesn't do any of that. It just allows you to register to vote. It's got the links and everything, super easy. And it's the whole idea is that it's showing the power of the nerd vote. Man, now that I'm thinking of it, we should have found a way to do our own Nerds for Kamala. I've been to a couple of those events now. Although I don't want to be political. I don't want it to be, but we could do that. I don't know. Maybe we'll do something. It sounds fun, actually. I wonder if I could get a couple of fun guests, but I don't know if I'd have the reach for it. I wonder. Got to think about it. So anyway, we're doing Nerds Vote. We have put it on our billboard for free. We're going to have a thing at our booth where people can go up with a QR code and just scan it and register to vote. No pressure. I don't care who you're voting for. Vote. Although if they ask me, I'll tell you who I care you're voting for. I think I just made it obvious. Okay, and then, although I wouldn't, you're registering to vote, you're registering to vote. Your vote counts. That's what I want. Vote. Only about a third of the population votes. Duh. Everybody votes. Everybody votes. Okay, so the other thing we're doing is there's a group called Scares That Care, and they help, I think it's homeless people. I can't remember. I'm buzzing on my coffee that I haven't talked about yet. And they put on AuthorCon, which is supposed to be awesome. And I'm trying to see if there's a way we can get to AuthorCon as a group. But I put them on there too, so that people can click on it and they can see what Scares for the Care does. And see, the idea is you're giving back. Now, I can't take proceeds out of what we do at Writers Row because, frankly, we need it. We're not getting anything. But that doesn't mean that we can't be proactive for people. We can't, like, I like to do a lot of things where if I can't support a Kickstarter, I start a podcast where I help them spread the word. Maybe 10 people can support it then, where my few dollars turns into a few hundred because it reached more people. So when you're marketing your stuff, maybe think about that. Is there something that you care about that you can do that is selfless? You know, you've got a booth, put on the booth a QR code for Doctors Without Borders. Just put it on there and say, hey, just put a little sign. If you want to know more about Doctors Without Borders, click here. You know what? People will do it. You will spread the word. Okay, Chinto, more. And I got an opportunity to do animations for a group of TikTok influencers that is in the works that have thousands of followers, but are also Gen Z, so not sure how stable that is. You know what? Who cares? Because at the end of the day, you've got content that you made that you can add to your resume, you can add to your portfolio, and there will be people in there. They have thousands of followers. It may not be super stable, but out of those thousands, did 100 follow you? It's going to be higher than that. And now you've got people following you and what you do next. They get caught up in your slipstream, and that's what you want. So, Chinto, you're doing the right thing by doing that. Yes, nerds vote on anything else other than online polls. Correct. You said so, not yes. See, I was speaking Spanish there. So nerds vote on anything else other than online polls. Do nerds vote? It's do. Got it. Do nerds vote on anything else other than online polls? Yeah. Yes, they do. Nerds is huge. Yeah. Some of them just need to be told you matter. Your vote counts. You know, sorry, my Spanish autocorrect. Why be sorry? You can do Spanglish in here, and I'd love it. You could write it in Spanish. I'm not going to understand all of it, but that old Spanish class might kick in. And one of my best friends growing up, he and his brother were Peruvian. The family spoke Spanish, so I picked up some. I know how to ask for the bathroom. Donde está el baño? See? Yeah, not impressive. That's not being elitist. That's being I don't have the ear for languages. I have an ear for accents and things, not for languages. I wish I could speak 10 languages and really communicate with people. I've tried. Molly and Maeve did Muzzy at one point. We've got I can't remember the app. There's a really good Duolingo. Molly's taking French. Maeve's going to do it along with her. I'm going to try, but it doesn't stick. Certain phrases do. Where's the bathroom? I like coffee. Those are the phrases I got to have. Okay. So today's thing that I want to talk about, and you guys can keep asking questions and keep sliding in there. Oh, c'est la toilette. See, I said it kind of I think that's how they say it. It's la toilette. Did I say it right? It's always, you got to it's not trying to do the accent, it's trying to say it the way they say it. So you don't sound like, hey, where the toilet? That's your French. Yeah, where are the toilets, man? Number one phrase, got to know it. You can find where the water is. Oh, look, there's a spigot. If you don't know where the toilet is, you could be in serious trouble. Also, are there clown cones on the menu? I think that's a good one to have in your arsenal. Because if you get that one right, you're always going to win. Okay, enough of that silliness. So today's topic, I have a topic for us. And I'm going to bring it up here. I'm going to bring it up on this. Present, share screen. Today's topic is scarcity. Okay, we've all heard this phrase or this word, and we've heard it applied to us in a lot of ways, or we've heard people say it about others. It's the state of being scarce or in short supply, a shortage. We're in a time of scarcity. I don't mean us as a species. It's saying it in the definition, using it in a phrase. It's a time of scarcity. We live in a time of scarcity, or this is a time of scarcity. All right. So last night I was with Maeve, and we were taking our walk, and we were talking about pour over, and we were talking about what I wanted to talk about today. And she said, have you ever talked about scarcity? And I said, I don't think so. Now, here's what's interesting. This lit me up immediately, because you can take scarcity and think of it in marketing terms 100 different ways. One way, and this is the one we're not going to dwell on. I'm going to just say it so that it's out in the atmosphere and we've gotten over it. You can think of scarcity in terms of needs for your potential customer. What do they feel scarcity around? What do they feel they are in short supply of? Okay. The bottled water industry feeds on scarcity, right? When we were kids, we being us, Maeve and I, and our parents, and there were no bottled water. That was very rare. Evian, I think, was the only thing that was out there, and that was, oh, who would drink that? But they are playing on the idea that clean drinking water is scarce. You don't have it, you need it. There's scarcity is being created there. We live in a time when there is scarce drinking water. Of course, now we know you can go to Costco and get giant things of drinking water. It's everywhere, filtered, non-filtered, mineral, all this stuff. But that industry did not exist. Kind of a blue ocean when they started that. But they were playing on scarcity, and it still plays on scarcity because it's just ingrained in us now. Okay. Bottled water is such a scam. They just use municipal water sources. I hate the water industry. Depends on who you go with, Ginto. If you do some research, some of them are actually really good. They do not just use municipal water sources and filtration. Some of them do. A lot of them do. If it says, well, I'm not going to get into it. This isn't that show. Okay. So we know that scarcity. Then there's also the scarcity that we feel as entrepreneurs and marketers that is there, how would I say this? Because there's a few different ways to do this. Let's get rid of that. You're starting a business. Okay. You start talking to people about it. You need that encouragement. You need that, yeah, this is awesome and you're going to do great. And then you get that friend, that smart friend that you really like who says, yeah, but will people pay for it? Are there enough customers? They start planting the seed of scarcity, right? But Chito, it's so hard to distract me from the topic. Okay. They plant the seed of scarcity. Now that scarcity can fuel you and say, I'll be damned, I'm going to figure out how to find them because I believe they're out there. And then there's also the one that it crushes you and it stops you. An example. So at Writer's Row in our panel room, this time we have a banner. Okay. And this is a thing I've done in the past. I think I talked about it last time. I'm not going to go through all that here. Let me see if I actually have the picture of it that I can share with you guys. There it is. I will share it. Nope. Holy moly. It opened the full banner. I don't want that. Okay. Let me see if I can find the banner here. Anyway, we came up with this banner, and on it, we sold 8x8 blocks for people to advertise. And I really got a lot of authors on there. Here, you can see it on this. I'll show you. I don't know if I can open it up any higher than this, but that doesn't matter. And I need to get scarcity out of here. You should see I'm in window hell here right now. There we go. And I'm going to close that so you can just see, hopefully just see the banner. So anyway, I'm going to remove scarcity from our thing too. So I sold 8x8 blocks, and we got a lot of authors. We got a restaurant. It's an amazing opportunity, but it's hard to get people to understand it until they see it. Then they want in, and it is no longer available. That's how it happens. So there we go. There's the banner. Okay. I know it's hard to see, but you can see each of these blocks, not this one. These are 8 inches by 8 inches. This stands uh, over 6 feet tall and it's over 3 feet wide. And each of these blocks, I put QR codes in them. So you can go here and you can see this book and you can order it right here, or you can get on their newsletter right here. There's Nerds Vote. Bam, right there. There's Scares That Care. Okay. So I wanted you to see that so you had a visual. So I was talking to one of the authors and he was interested in it. He wanted to get on there. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it was a back and forth and it was all scarcity. He was saying, are enough people going to see it? And I said, why? There's no way to guarantee that. Well, in this case, the thing he wanted was only $25. And he goes, I do these things and I feel like nobody, like it's just a sea of stuff at a con. And I said, yeah, but this is in a panel room and it's up right next to the panel. And we have 3 days worth of panels. It's going to sit right there. So people are going to see it nonstop for 3 days. Right. And he says, he kept coming back with things that were full of scarcity. Will enough people see it? Will I make my money back? It's like, wait a minute. That's all scarcity because you're putting the negative fear first before saying, hey, what would I get out of this? I mean, I would challenge you, just put a newsletter up. If people sign up for your newsletter, it's a win. You spend $25 to give that an attempt. It's funny. People will tell me they'll do that on Facebook. They'll do Facebook advertising and they're like, I threw money in there. Nothing really happened. Yeah, but you put $50 into Facebook. You didn't target it. Of course it wasn't going to happen. Here, it's targeted. It's seen. You've got a hype man up at the front of the thing saying, click on these, order these books, check these people out. $25 is a steal. In fact, at $50, it's a total steal. So he was living in scarcity around it. And I think that as business owners, as marketers, we tend to do that. Yeah, you want to be smart. You want to be a good steward of your marketing dollar and of your investment and all that. You don't want to say, I'm going to throw $10,000 out at every single thing because you're going to go broke in a heartbeat. When we had our business, that happened. Right when we started, we didn't understand how to budget and all that. And we had the yellow pages came into our store. And I know that's not a thing now, but in 2000 it was. And they came in and they gave us this whole thing about all their demographics and all the usage and blah, 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 blah. And they were not a good steward of my money. They sold us a bill of sale. We spent a ton on yellow page advertising. And their spiel was, well, people look, they don't tell you they found it in there. Yeah, but we asked. And the amount of people that said they saw it in there, I mean, it was literally like 2 people in an entire year said, oh, yeah, I looked in the yellow pages and found you. Terrible. That one hurt. But if it had been $100, hey, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's why when there would be a, local basketball tournament and they'd come in from the high school and the kids would come in and say, hey, we're selling things in our brochure. If they came in and said they were $50, I'm like, well, that's never gonna. I'm not gonna get enough eyeballs on it. I mean, if I'm just doing it to support you, that's one thing. But if you're marketing it to me as a marketing tool, $50 isn't right. $20, probably do that all day because then I'm supporting you and people see I'm supporting you. I might make that money back. If not, what was the purpose of it? It was to get us in front of more eyeballs. Money well spent. So scarcity can be a killer. And you want to look at what you're doing and how you're viewing things. So Chelsea, you come to Writers Row every time. I don't know what your sales numbers are off the top of my head. I don't know what you spend to go versus what you make. but you know there's enormous value in it because you keep coming back and you want to keep coming back because there's enormous value there. But if you let scarcity take over, you would say, "Oh, well, hotel was 200 bucks. I made 220. Is that worth my time and effort?" Well, yeah, because you're only counting dollar to donut when in fact there's all this byproduct stuff that's worth so much gold to you. And all that gold starts filtering so that later your sales, your prestige, your brand goes up. But we live in scarcity. Think about it when you buy certain things at the store, you do it because you think, "Oh my god, they're gonna run out." Go to Trader Joe's, and they have the little flower thing that they put on their tags. I know that we've been there and, like, we make our own, sunflower butter, right? With sunflower seeds. And they have the roasted unsalted sunflower seeds, which is they're great there, and the price is great, and every once in a while, they run out. And they'll put this little flower thing on there that tells you inventory's low or we're out, and it doesn't necessarily know when they're getting it back. It plays off my scarcity because what do? I might buy 4 bags that day, whereas normally I'd buy 1 because I'm like, "Oh, they're gonna run out. What if we can't get it for a month?" Aldi, we have to have because of being celiac in the house, they have some gluten-free, grain-free pretzels that are really great. They keep running out. So now when you see them, you buy a box because of scarcity. I don't like that kind of marketing. Trader Joe's isn't doing that on purpose. Aldi's not doing it on purpose, but it's happening. So I'm not saying that you should look at that and say, how can I create scarcity? It's just look at it in yourself. Where do I see scarcity? Now, if I apply that to my marketing, what do I get back for what I put in? Will this go away? Think about it in those terms. Do you live in scarcity around this with your thing? Uh, let's see what this says. Chelsea, I have people who met me at PopCon that have spread the word. That's the greatest sentence I've read today. I love that. You have no idea. No joke. That just made my whole weekend. I definitely feel like I get more followers and sales after doing these. You 100% do. It may not match dollar for dollar what I get out of it, but the word of mouth is worth it to me. It's an investment in the future. It totally is. You've only done 2. Let's say you've done 10 of these. People start knowing who you are, knowing you're there. They're seeing your books every time. That's when it starts to pay dividends. Scarcity is, it didn't happen. I did it once. It didn't happen. I'm out. Okay. Okay. But was that motivated by scarcity or was it motivated by a well-grounded, thought out decision? You know, weigh the pros and cons. Do I feel there's not enough customers there? Well, if there's not enough customers, let's take that for example. Uh, PopCon Louisville. If we were living in scarcity around it, we might not do it because PopCon Indy, uh, I know that pre-sales were around 30,000 people. Okay. PopCon Louisville pre-sales at the same point was around 15,000. Uh-oh. Does that mean we're going to do half the amount in book sales? Should we not do it? Well, I know there was an event where one of our authors took one book, and in 3 hours they sold 150 books. Audience size was around 2,000. So should I feel scarcity around that? No. What should I do instead? I should look at it and say, how do I up my game? How do I capitalize on it to see if we can move the number? My prediction is with what we've just done as far as marketing, we will either do the same as we did in PopCon with half the guests, or we might actually pop into profit, which I think we're going to do. I don't have scarcity thought around it at all. I believe you build it and they will come. I think there are things that PopCon could do to change that narrative. I think they're living in a little bit of scarcity because they're trying things they've tried in indie and it's a different market. I think that they're like when I heard it was 15,000, this was a few weeks ago, and he said at this same point, this is where we were at indie and this is where we're at this. And they said, it's going to be a little bit smaller, but whatever. I said, okay. If I was them, my first thought would be, how do I change that? How do I change that narrative? Because I don't have scarcity. How many people live there that we could motivate to get them in here? How come there are small towns that can get everybody in town to come to their event? What are they doing differently? How are they enticing them? How are they building value that gets everybody going? And the thing skyrockets. What are you doing with your business? What are you doing with what you do? Where do you feel scarcity? I've seen people, now we take Artist Alley, right? We take people I've seen in Artist Alley uh, that sign up, they get a booth. Booth costs them $300 for a table. Okay. And I see them sitting there and I see them drawing or talking to the buddy next to them or just sitting there eating. And I go up to them and I'll talk to them. And one of the meanest things I say, this is what I'm trying to get them as a client, is I'll say, "Oh man, you're pretty slow." They'll go, "Yeah, this was not worth it. This was a terrible con." And then I point to the one behind me that has a line, and I'll say, "Oh, I don't think they think it's a terrible con. What are they doing?" And they'll go, "Yeah, well, he's famous." Not to me. I don't even know who he is. Okay. But the mean thing I say is I go, "Oh, I get it. Their book must be better than yours." Oh, that never makes people happy. And of course, it's a big freaking lie because their book, I'm sure, is just as good as their book. Everybody's thing is valid, right? So it's not that. It's something else. Do you think the guy across from him believes that there aren't enough customers? No, he believes there are enough customers and he's attracting them like crazy. This guy, there's not enough customers. People aren't interested in me. Scarcity. Uh-uh. I don't believe it. Now, does that mean that reality can't set him and yeah, there aren't enough? Yeah, that could be. Reality versus a fear of scarcity are two different things. If you try it and you're like, yeah, there just aren't people, and I gave it the shot and this is not working, then yeah, you can make an informed, grounded decision that's outside of, oh no, I'm afraid there's not enough. I'm going to go buy 10 bags of those sunflower seeds because they're not going to be back. They will be back. Now, you might want to buy them to stretch a little bit of time, make a wise decision. How often, when they're out of these, how long does it last? Is it 2 weeks? Well, make sure you have enough. That's not scarcity. When COVID hit, scarcity was running rampant. I was over at Costco and it was like the weekend that the world changed, right? And I'm walking through, I had to buy like breakfast sausage and I don't know, coffee. So I had the big cart and I had two things in it. And people are loading up on water and toilet paper. And it was like a feeding frenzy. And I'm like, wow, man. But the shelves are full. You're going to deplete the shelves so that it makes it harder for people that need it to get stuff because you hoarded 10 things of toilet paper. I remember seeing the signs like limit two. And then people are like, okay, I'm going to go with my wife and my daughter, and they're going to each get a cart. So now we could get six. Yeah, but now there's tons of people that can't get it. If everybody didn't live in scarcity, we'd be fine. Supply chain wasn't messed up as bad as, even at that point we knew, like, no, it's not, we're not in that situation. There will be things, so buy a few, but do you really need a mountain of toilet paper in your house? Scarcity, it's a killer. uh got a couple more here. Chinto, Interesting as a comic creator, what would be scarcity when there's a boom of comics and even AI content flooding the market? Um, so I have a point on that. That is, believe it or not, that is a scarcity mindset. Don't worry about the other guy. Worry about you. Do your thing to its fullest. Believe in your thing. If there's a flood of comics and AI content flooding the market, those people creating the AI content that are buying the AI content, I should say, they're not buying your stuff. They weren't before either. Okay. If there's 20 comics that weren't there before and now they're selling and you're going, oh, but people's dollars, that's scarcity. Because if you're doing it right and you're building your audience, they're going to buy from you. Is that guy's book next to you better than yours? No, absolutely not. I've seen Shinto's stuff. It's fantastic. Okay. Fantastic. He just needs people to be aware of it and to stay the course and keep finding ways to build. There are not too many. And I'm going to give you an example. When we had our baby store, we owned a baby store in Lincoln Park. When we opened, within, I would say, I'm going to say a mile, but it wasn't even a mile. It was blocks. There was a Bellini, which is a big national chain baby store, high end store. There was Cradles of Distinction, which was a very big baby store in Chicago, local, but big and high end. There was a children's clothing store directly behind us, and there was us. We opened up. Then, within a year or so, a couple more children's clothing stores opened up the street from us. And these other things, the earlier things, those were well established. Like that children's store behind us, they'd been there for 30 years. Cradle's Distinction had a good 10-year jump on us, and they had a big part of the Chicago baby market. And Bellini has always been a big part of that children's market. Not anymore. Uh, so we got interviewed early. Big question every time. Every time. A lot of baby stores in this area. Aren't you afraid you're going to get crushed or lost in the shuffle? What happens if Cradles of Distinction decides to open a store next door to you? That'll knock you out. A store did open not far from us also then called Land of Nod, which had this huge online presence, and it took a chunk. We had no scarcity around it. The questions are rooted in scarcity. Our reply, 10 stores can open up on our block, right next door to us. 2 right next door to us, 3 like from our window, and more. I don't care, because if I'm doing it right, if I'm doing my thing and we're unique, the audience will come. The customer will come. And yeah, there may be 4 traps before they get to us to grab their money. Well, that means I have to up my game. The audience and the customer is still there. When we talk scarcity, you're thinking of 10 customers that come up to you. But there's 40,000 people here. Are you going to capture all 40,000? No. No. Can you capture 10% of the people there? Maybe. And why not? When you take a marketing thing and you send out your newsletter, if you look at the numbers, I'm going to get the average numbers wrong now. I usually have them correct, but it's kind of in flux in my head, and I haven't been looking at the current numbers. But it's something like open rates are 15% on average. Okay, if you're doing 20%, believe me, you're kicking butt. If you've got a newsletter where 50% are app opening on average, keep leaning into it because you are crushing it as far as newsletters go. don't have scarcity. You think, well, why would I start a newsletter? There's 8 million newsletters. There are. If I'm a guy sitting in his basement and I have 3 that I'm managing on average, and if you actually go one step further and you take our network, what did we plant? 40? And it's all stemming from one source? Yeah, there's a billion of these things out there. But do I have scarcity? No. People subscribe to it. And if you're doing it right, the ones with the higher percentage that are opening, those are the ones who are going to buy the things that are in your newsletter. They have asked you to sell to them. And if 50% of your subscribers are opening it, let's say 3% click the button and buy. That's not bad. Just keep growing the audience. Don't have scarcity around that. If you're talking about the same 10 people and you lose one, you're going to feel scarcity. If you forget about those and you go, I'm going to do everything I can for those 10, but I'm going to keep trying to grow it and keep trying to find more, guess what? You will work your way out of that scarcity mindset. Keep reminding yourself the customer is there, the fan is there. If they're just not aware of me yet, then my job is to make them aware. And the one buying Chinto, the one that buys your art is not buying the AI art. They're not. And the one buying the AI art, they don't care about your unicorn. They don't care. They want AI art. Okay. Can you pick up a few here and there? Sure. But that's not who I'm targeting. I don't care. And if the comic book market is flooded, let's take that. Let's go back to that route. You say, wow, all of a sudden it's flooded, right? There's a boom. Great. Because your book, there is nothing else like it in that writer's row. I'm sorry, Artist Alley. I got writer's row in the brain. There's nothing else like it. So if you can make it stand out, if you can make people aware of what yours is, you are going to sell and you're going to be the guy with the line. It's why when we do things, I like panels so much. Chelsea comes, does a panel. She goes back to the booth. People come up to her. Oh my God, I saw your panel. Oh, conversation. Oh, these are your books. Oh, great. I can sign that. Do you want one? Oh, yeah. Or, oh, no, not today. Okay. I have no scarcity. You're going to come back. You're going to come back or you're going to tell somebody and it's going to make a sale and it's going to come back to me. I was kind and I was honest and it's going to come back. No scarcity. Do we all feel it? Yeah, absolutely. I've talked about having imposter syndrome before. Everybody's got it, or most people have it. I shouldn't say everybody, too big a blanket. But most people do feel it. Most people do feel scarcity on a regular basis, but you need to be able to know what scarcity is, where it's popping its ugly head, and how you can overcome it. Believe in abundance. There's this great, and I think I've talked about this on here before. On Spotify, you can get Deepak Chopra does a 21 days to abundance. Okay. And you can go on there and every day it's like a 10-minute meditation about abundance and attracting abundance. One of the first things he says is there is, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish, there is limitless abundance out there. And the more you can get that in your head and understand, maybe it's something I can do to tap into that abundance because it's there. If it wasn't there, there wouldn't be like these billionaires because the abundance is there. It's there. Now, yeah, sure. Elon Musk has money and he's able to start a car company because he has a ton of dough and build money upon money, right? So if you started a car company, would you be able to compete with him immediately? No, because you don't have $1 billion to throw into it. That's different than, is there a potential customer? He starts those businesses because he knows I'm going to sell X amount because the customer is there. And if I'm the little guy punching up, what can I do to differentiate and to get over the scarcity? Because the customer is there. Think of it in terms of what you guys do and what you have. Where do you feel scarcity and where does it stop you? And can you realize that there's abundance? Can you get over that scarcity? It's hard. It's not an easy thing. I deal with it all the freaking time. Uh, right here. Oh, the scarcity of time. Time is a killer, man. We all have that scarcity. Hell, especially when you have a kid and you're like, oh, now they get my time and I want them to get my time. Right. But it's taking away from my business that I'm trying to build to supply to them and my family. And scarcity. But I always say I bend time. It's how I can produce such a huge amount to the point that I'm like, oh my God, am I annoying because it's so much stuff? It might be. But 20 years from now, when I've slowed down and I'm not doing it at that rate, all that stuff is there and people will be like, wow, look at that body of work. And that's what I want. I want to get it out while I can. And I want to help as many people. I want it to have far-reaching effect. We only have what, 4 people watching right now. I don't have scarcity around that. I just haven't been promoting it. I haven't been marketing it. I know there's a lot of people out there that would really dig what we're doing here. I know it for a fact. The ideas I have for this require more people. So I just keep doing my thing. Boots on the ground, no scarcity. All right, Serena just wrote in here. I always have abundance. Occasionally I have an abundance of lack, but then I just have to figure out how to fill that void. Yeah. Yes. An abundance of lack or a lack of abundance or up a little bit of scarcity. Well, that's not scarcity. I get what you're saying, Serena. But you're trying not to live in scarcity. You're trying to live in abundance. That's how we look at it too. And scarcity of time, feeling scarcity of time is different than having actual lack of time. If you're too busy to put X in, that is a lack of time because you literally can't fit it in, or you've made a different decision to say, this is more, I'm prioritizing this over this. That's different. Once again, is it a well-grounded decision? What do you want? How are you going to get there? Are you grounded in it? Right? That's not scarcity. I know you guys can get over the scarcity thing because, and it's not you're over it and done. It's like being an alcoholic where they say that, yeah, you may go 10 years, but you're still an alcoholic. It's still there. Well, that fear of scarcity is still there. We don't just slip into the slipstream and say, no, I have no more scarcity. Well, you have it, but you have to be able to identify it and be able to work your way through it and get that logical, grounded answer. And when those darkest hours and it pops up, know it. We have it, right? Look to abundance. Do that Deepak Chopra thing. Try it this week. It's 21 days, right? You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. If you tell me I don't have 10 minutes, you're lying to yourself. You have 10 minutes. You can find it. When I was working at this one job, and I hated this job, I was miserable. Well, I kept saying I didn't have time to do these things. And what I did was I figured out, well, when I'm eating my lunch, if I eat it at my desk, I had 30 minutes. 10 minutes could be this. And then I had 20 minutes. I'd like play a game or do whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. I felt like my world cracked open because I stopped going to lunch. I stopped doing whatever. And I went, I found that money or that time. And it really made things a lot easier for me. Abundance. Chase it. Oh, it's 9:00. Guys, I got to go. I'm going over to the third best Southgate. Find it on Capes and Lunatics Network. Find it on my Facebook page, hopefully. Today I'm turning the tables on them and asking them questions, and they don't know it. So if you want to see Third Best Southgate, once again, follow the link on my Facebook, follow it on Southgate Media Group, or go to Capes and Lunatics. There is a live stream happening literally in seconds. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will talk to you from Louisville next week.